Hello everyone, today I'm going to be recording HTML, CSS, JavaScript guide and CSS JavaScript libraries as well. So this is not going to be a how-to guide where I'm going to teach you every single tag, HTML tag, or how to write CSS rules and everything in detail, but going to be like an overall thing what JavaScript, CSS, HTML can do, and we'll try to build a page at the end of the video to see how all things work together. So it's going to be one video long. Probably I will make another video later on if needed, but the intention is to show you the full end-to-end how to start to completely build a page and how does it look at the end. So it's good for the beginners who have started learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but they haven't get to a point where they can make a very good looking page. And it's also good for the folks who don't know about it, just wondering what these things are and what they can do. So let's start with understanding what HTML is. So when you go to a website, let's go to one. Let's see what's in the news. So whenever like that you go to your browser and you type an URL and you visit the website, so what the server does, it sends you some HTML code. It's like a document. Let me show you what that document looks like. You press F12 on the browser. So if you do, let me move the screen and let's go to this. So this is the document. It starts with doc type HTML and HTML tag. So this is the document, like any other document you see, like a notepad file you have. It has some standards, it has some tags, and what browser does, it looks at those tags and create this beautiful looking web page. But behind the scene, it's a document. So what we will do now, we will try to create the document and see if we open that document in the browser, would it look good, would it look different? So let's get it started. So now what I'm starting to create the document that I was talking about, HTML document, that which we will open in the browser, and we'll see it gonna be looking something different. So you may be wondering what it is in front of you right now. So what I've done, I've created a folder, and you don't have to create a folder. I'm just creating it just to organize my files in one place that I'm creating for this tutorial. There's no reason to create a folder. If you want, you can create a folder and put your files in that folder just to organize them. You don't have to create a folder. So I created this folder in this location, and I'm going to create some files. You can create files from a lot of different softwares. You can go to your notepad, and write a doc. Let's start with saying a p tag and say hi and close the p tag. I'm just showing you can do it with any software. You can do it even with the notepad. Not with every software, I mean with a lot of softwares out there. And I save it in the location that I was showing you. So I'm at that location, and you know how it is saving .txt. I will select all files and it won't give me that extension at the end. Every HTML file have html.html extension. So when I will create the file, just have to make sure it is .html. I will hit save, and that file has been saved .html. So let me do one thing. Let me open the file here. So what I was doing in Notepad and what this software is, let me try to explain you that. So this is Notepad++. This software is created especially to help you create websites. How it gonna help? It gonna do certain small things. It can highlight the code in different ways. You know how in Notepad everything is just like black, so that way it's going to be more readable. These type of softwares, they are there just for help, just to help developers code efficiently. They can find, some of them even can tell you you're missing an ending tag or something. Problems in your code they can figure out, and they are called IDE, Integrated Development Environment. So now what I'm starting to create the HTML document, and we'll see how it looks when we open the document in a browser. So let's get started. So first of all, you need a program to write a file, right? You can use any program that can write a plain text document, or you can use any other IDE if you know what these are. You don't have to learn any of these. You can actually use just a Notepad. Let me try creating the first document. Let me show you how to create a document in Notepad. Then I'll tell you what the IDE or what program I'm using, and then we'll quickly get started. So let me start Notepad, and so I'm going to start creating the first document. I'll start with a simple heading tag. It's called heading tag. It's H1, and H1 you close it. So this is called starting tag, and the other one is ending tag, and whatever you write in between becomes a heading in HTML document. So let me say welcome to the website. I save it. I'm hitting Control S, and when I hit Control S, you know the text files have this extension .txt, so I don't want that. So I want to, in HTML files they have extension .html, so I will I'm giving it a name called index.html. You don't have to give that index.html name, you can give any name you want. So I'm hitting enter, which is going to save the file. This file has been saved with .html extension. So now we will try to open this document in the browser and see how this tag can look like. So here's my browser. So I am opening. You can just double click the file in your Explorer, it will open it as well. I'm just copying and pasting the file address, and it is index.html. so when I hit enter, you see it's right here. It doesn't show the tags, they have been translated into the heading. Similar way, there are other tags that we're gonna look, but you now know how HTML works. It is just a document with some tags in the beginning and at the ending, closing, starting, closing tags. There are some tags which does not have a closing tag. It can have only one tag, and that is enough. So now we know HTML, how we save HTML file, how we open the file in the browser, and how we open the file. Let's see how we can open the file in a Notepad or any other program. So let's say you close the file, and now if you double click the file, it will open up in the browser. So but you don't want that. You want to change it. You want to open it in Notepad, so you can change the file and update the content. So when you right click, it will say open with, and you want to see Notepad here. So if I open it with let's say Firefox, see, it's gonna open, it's gonna render the content. You wouldn't be able to change the content of the file. You would be able to see what's in the file. So to change it, you right click on it. As I have closed the Notepad, I'm not able to change it until I do open with and hit Notepad. Then I can change it here. Okay, so now what I am using here, you might be wondering. So this is called an IDE. It is Notepad++. It's in software which help you make your development quicker, a little bit faster. You can absolutely do every single thing that I'm going to be doing here with Notepad or any other IDE. It's just gonna give a little help, and you will see throughout the video how it is going to be helping us out. So here's the file that I've just opened. This we have saved from through, we wrote it through Notepad, and we have opened it here. You see the immediately that these tags are highlighted. They are in different colors. That's one of the ways it's helping us out. It's more readable. Now I know where the tags are. It's also, if you notice, when I hit the starting tag, it highlights the ending tag. So this way, when you have a lot of HTML, sometimes you kind of lose the track where it's starting or ending. So it's gonna help you with that as well. So we can go through a lot of tags and what they're different, how they're gonna render, but rather going through every tag, I'm gonna show you how you can learn about all the tags, and we can move on to CSS and JavaScript. So let's say you want to learn about how to create a text box where you can put all the information in. Let's say you want to take a text input from the user. So let's say HTML text box. So when you search, so Google is your friend while you're learning. Try to type, learn, and see. Try querying in Google. Try to find your answer in Google. You're gonna learn everything. So when you so here's one of the websites which is going to be helpful. I'm not saying this is the best website, but you can see if I say try it yourself, I can see, forget about this form right now. This input tag, which doesn't have an ending tag. I told you about these tags. So this tag, when you have type input, it's gonna give you this input box, and wherever you put in the value, you will see it here inside the box. If you keep it empty, so let me remove it, you won't see anything here. So this is one of the examples how you can just search and find the answers. So for example, in this W3 school, again, this is another best website. There are many other websites going to give you better information, but just for it's good to get started. So you'll see what are the basic tags, and how you can do different formatting styles, everything. So some of the basic stuff is here, which is going to be helpful, and on many other websites. So use Google search and learn about rest of the tags in HTML. So let's move on and touch the CSS. What CSS is, it's called cascading style sheet. What it does, it helps you change the look and feel of the website. Usually HTML just give you whatever kind of a raw structure of the document, and then CSS help you make them look different. For example, if we have this heading, right, but if I want to change the color, HTML cannot do it. We have to write some CSS to do it. So CSS, when you start CSS, you have to have a selector, something called selector. So if I want to apply this rule that I'm going to write, I have to have a selector. Selector means what I'm trying to apply this rule on. So right now I have put h1, which means h1 tag. So if I have multiple h1 tags, it can apply on all of them. So a rule also comes in the bracket, in these brackets. You don't have to have these brackets in different lines. It's just to help you learn your code better easily, because when you will open this file after a long time, you wouldn't be able to read it if you don't have some good spacings and all that, but it doesn't really matter. So let me say color, and let's say blue. So when I hit save, I hit just Control S, and I will go back to the browser. I'm hitting Control R. It didn't work. Why it didn't work? When you write CSS in an HTML document, it has to be a style tag. So that is starting style tag and ending tag. Ending tag usually have this slash. So now it's hit save again, refresh the browser, and you see the blue color. Good. So now we also know how to write CSS, right? So I can write CSS like this, and there are different rules you can put. There are many selectors, different ways to select. So let's say I have another h1 tag, and it will say we are going to add information to the website soon, and hit save and come refresh. It can also look blue. Why? Because the selector is selecting both of them. But if I change it to h2 tag, which is also heading, these are from h1 to h6, and hit save and come here and refresh, you won't see that blue color here, because this is not, that was the selector just for h1, not for h2. So h1 is the biggest heading, the first heading, and then h2 is smaller. It goes to h6. It's kind of define the structure of the document. The main heading usually is h1, which is the title of the document, and then you have subheadings and then subheadings. So you can use these different text to kind of a structured document. So let's say if I create another rule for h2 and say it's gonna be gray, I'm sorry, and hit Control S, come here, refresh, and see it's now in gray color. Okay, so now you know a little about CSS. It has to be in a style tag. Also, it has that selector, and then it have a rule. It doesn't have to have one rule. It can have one or more rules. So I can say the background. Let's say background color. It's gonna be yellow. And I come here, refresh it. I save the document previously. You see the background it's now yellow. I can create a border around it, and I will give a size. And when I refresh, oops, my mistake, it has to be solid. And now you see that background, that border is here as well. So you would have multiple rules that will make it look whatever way you want to make it look. So now we have seen how CSS works. Again, we'll go search for different selectors. The different selectors, for example, if you can have IDs. So when you will be learning HTML, in your research you will find IDs, and you can give any ideas. I can say ABCD or anything, and technically. And if I want to have a selector for that specific ID, I have to give this pound sign in the beginning. So I can say pound ABCD. It means apply this rule only on the element which has this ABCD ID. So there are many more things to learn, and CSS is just an amazing thing, and whatever beautiful HTML you see is just because of the CSS. So we'll move on. I won't go much in detail. There are many really good YouTube tutorials and other websites which can teach you about CSS and all different properties, rules of CSS that can help you create anything you want. So let's move on and learn about JavaScript. So right now what we have done, we have created basic HTML tags and try to make them look better through CSS. What JavaScript does, it puts some logic in it. So if you want to calculate something, if you want to change something based on some input or any other type of logic, this is JavaScript. So you say script, anything you put within a script tags, it is JavaScript. Ouch, sorry. So I'm just copying and pasting the code. So you say document, it means in this current document, select an element, HTML tags, every tag is one element. So select the element with the ID by ID. So ID I'm giving here A, and let me create an ID A here. So and change its inner HTML and make it what? Text. Sorry, test. And every at the end of the JavaScript, similar to CSS, you can kind of give this semicolon. So there is no logic right now. What I'm saying is just go ahead and change the HTML, and I have saved the document. I go here, refresh it, and whatever text that I have written here has been replaced with test. So there are if statements, there are other things that you will learn about JavaScript that can give you full control of your document. You can change things based on some input from the user, or many other things that you can do, which are just simply not possible with CSS or HTML alone. So now you have seen how HTML works, different tags, and you're going to learn about all the different tags. We have seen how to use some of the attributes. You have seen ID attribute previously on when I was showing you W3 school website. We have seen the value attribute in the input, if you remember, input tag. And we have seen CSS, we have seen selector. I've shown you how to select through ID with the pound sign, and there are different rules that we have entered for this selector, and they will apply on whatever tag view, whatever is the scope, whatever is the selector. Also, we have similar to HTML, there are so many properties, CSS properties you're going to learn about in any other website. You go ahead and search HTML tutorial and you will see a lot of them. Then we have seen the JavaScript and what it can do. It can change the CSS, it can change HTML, it can do many other things, and there are so many JavaScript tutorials that you can look for online, and they will help you understand everything in JavaScript. So now I'm going to use this basic ideas that you have and going to create a page, and just going to quickly show you how you can use some of the libraries and quickly come up with a full HTML document, which can be a very good looking HTML page. So I'm going to delete everything here and I'm going to start a new document. So far we have been just putting one tag here and one tag there to see how it works, but now because we're creating a proper HTML document, we're gonna have a proper structure. So let me copy and paste some code to make it quick. Here you go, and it may be a lot of things for you. So let me quickly explain what this structure means. So whenever you start a HTML document, you have to have this doc type HTML. It tells the browser that you have a HTML document, and then HTML language English. You don't have to have this. Let me remove it just to make it simple. And then a head tag, and then a body tag, and then we close this HTML tag that we started in the beginning. So this head tag actually have some meta tags in it, and then some links, and we have title. We can have more information here, for example about the icon and other stuff that we don't have right now. So what this one is doing is telling the character set. We don't have to go much in detail about it. This is a viewport which actually tells the browser that when this page opens up in a phone, it can look a little bigger, so to help small devices. We have been writing CSS so far with the style tag, but you can actually have CSS in a different file, and when you have it in a different file, you um, can include that separate CSS file in your HTML document like this. You're saying link style sheet, which means a CSS document. In this case, the last time when we were writing the CSS right there, right here in the HTML document, but what is here you're seeing is the separate CSS file. And how, you have seen how HTML document have .html extension, CSS have .css extension, so that's why you'll see .css at the end. So this is a CSS file which is being hosted somewhere on the internet, so we put in with the href attribute, we provide that address, and it doesn't have to be full. Let's say if I have the CSS file created by myself and it's in the same folder, I would just say the name of the CSS file, for example style.css, but in this case it's being hosted somewhere separately, so we have the full address. Title of the document, it shows up on, let me go to the browser, it shows up here. Right now we didn't have any title, that's why it's giving you the full address of the file, but when we would have this title tag, it will write whatever we are writing here. So let's say guide video HTML guide, let me keep it small so we can see the whole text in that tab, in the browser tab. So this is the end of the head tag, and then you have body tag have everything that you see on your screen. So you know how we were having the h1 tag, h2 tag, and other tags, they're gonna show up here in this window in the browser. Let me take you back right here. So they're gonna show up here in the in this area of the browser. This is more like a visible stuff in the body tag. And we also been using some JavaScript previously, right, in the script tag, but now we have JavaScript in a separate file. In this case, similar to CSS, we have JavaScript being hosted somewhere else in a completely different location. So we have the full URL, and every JavaScript, if you have the JavaScript file, then you have .js extension. HTML have .html, CSS have .css, and JavaScript have .js. Similar to CSS, if I had the JavaScript in a local file, not a completely different location, I would just put the CSS file name, for example jQuery -3.2.1.slim.min.js. I didn't have to put everything, but it's in this case it's being hosted in a completely different location, so I have to put the whole link here. Okay, but there's no difference. If I go to the link, if I click on if I copy the link, if I just copy it, let me try pasting it in the browser. If I hit enter, you would see the JavaScript code. So this is the code which we are loading right now. But you may be surprised, wow, there's so much JavaScript code, and why do we have it? I will explain you later. And there are different JavaScript files. So instead of loading one similar to this different JavaScript we are loading, we can have different CSS files, different JavaScript files that we can load. In this case, we are loading these 3-4 different JavaScript files. So why do we have so many files, and why do we have files are being hosted somewhere else? That could be a question that you may have right now in your mind. So previously, when we were writing small JavaScript and CSS, we were writing them within HTML because they were very little, and we were just doing it for testing purposes. But when you are building a professional page, a proper page, usually you have a lot of CSS and a lot of JavaScript, and it is not feasible, for many reasons, to have them just written in HTML document. So you put them in a separate file, easier to manage, easier to see, and they become also reusable, right? You may have 10 different HTML pages which are being styled by one CSS file, so you can have them loaded like this in those 10 different HTML files, and so that one CSS can be reused. So that's one reason. Another reason is because it's a lot of code. If you put it in an HTML file, it's just going to look odd, as I've shown you how this jQuery JavaScript file was too long. It has a lot of code in it, so we don't want to put that lot of code here, because then otherwise it will be very difficult for you to figure out where your HTML code is, and then it won't look good. Again, for the reusability, you have one JavaScript file that can be used in multiple places. So another thing that we want to discuss before I start putting more tags here and show you how it's gonna look on the browser is the use of libraries. So I've shown you how CSS works, right? So in CSS there are some basic things everyone needs, right? Everybody wants to have some kind of basic components, basic little CSS to make those buttons look good. Makes those labels, headings look better, right? Have some background, have some borders, have some styling there. So, and every time when you start a project or start a new page, you have to start writing all that CSS, all that JavaScript from the beginning. So what some people thought long time ago, that why don't we put this CSS in JavaScript, and that everybody needs some kind of a common stuff, and we make it public, so anyone who starts creating a document, who starts creating HTML page, they can use these basics, and then they can add their own on top of it, and so that way they can have a head start. So instead you start writing some basics, very basic colors and borders and some basic stuff, you have that already there, and then you write your code on top of it. So in this way these libraries come into play. So some folks have thought about it, they come together and they wrote some code which is called Bootstrap. It's a library, it's a CSS and JavaScript library. What they do, they provide you some basic components. So let me show you. So in the browser, I'll just for Bootstrap hit enter. This is the website, get.bootstrap.com. So the code that I showed you, I took it from here, from their starter template. But let's go to the components, what they have. Let me go through the layout first. So when you create a website, you have to think about the layout, how the thing's gonna look. For example, your main content gonna be in the middle, then you're gonna have a site kind of a section where you have some other things going, maybe advertisements, maybe your menu at the site, on the site. Then when you will learn more, you will understand all these media queries and everything in CSS. Let me go to the grid system. So for example, you may need 3 columns in one time. So they have these different classes. Class is one of the attributes which can be used as a selector. So you have style in CSS that you would start with a dot in the beginning, and then you give a name, and wherever in HTML tag you would put that class name, it will use the CSS that has been written for that specific class in that tag. So this code is making these columns. So you can have, this is how you can have 3 columns in Bootstrap. So Bootstrap gives you some basic CSS for styling, for layout. Let me go back here to show you the menu. For layout, for let's go to different. For example, if you want to make table, so if you make a table, you won't see anything. You see the content being separated, but you won't see different lines in it. But with Bootstrap, if you put the table class in your table tag, it will add those lines, and then you can have different styles options using those same classes. You have to put this different CSS classes to make them look different. For example, if you want to have these different colors, you want to add that class. So this is what I'm showing you is the document which shows you which class does what type of effect. Okay, so if you need all borders, this is the class to add. Okay, so if you want to have a hover effect on your table, you have to put this class. So you got some basic idea what they're doing. So this is some of the HTML that is there, but they're making it better. Okay, similarly images. So when you go, you have this image, but this image is bigger than your page. You want to make it responsive, which means it gonna fit into your container. Then you use this class, and it would make it responsive. It would make it become smaller when you open in a phone. It will become smaller when you would resize your window, resize your browser window, so you can change its alignment and all that. So this is a library that we are using, a CSS which has already been written by some developers and made publicly available to any other developer who are building their page. Let's go to some of the components, see what they have. What components mean actually? So components are, we have seen HTML tags, for example, heading tags, and paragraph tags and image tags. So those are the HTML tags, but it doesn't mean that you're restricted to those specific HTML tags. You can come up with your own item, kind of in your own thing. And how you do it, you use usually like div tags, which doesn't have any specific style, and you use CSS to style them. And with the CSS, HTML, sometimes JavaScript as well, you come up with something new. So sometime on the top of the website you have seen notifications. So if you're using the Bootstrap CSS, you can use this class and it will create it like one of these. Okay, and let me go to one of the cards. So that's what we're going to be using right now in our so what the card is, usually have the title and some text and a button and sometime image in in a box. So that makes it a card. So now what we're gonna see how we will use some of the documentation quickly, like in 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll see how we can make them look like a proper web page. Okay, so now I'm going to start the page. We have the basic structure ready. I'm going to hit Control S and going to the web page and see how it looks right now. So it looks pretty empty except this hashtag, and you can see this heading looks a little different because of the font that Bootstrap have provided. So I have a plan in mind now, what I'm going to be having here. So first of all, usually on the web page you see like a carousel where you have multiple pictures and they're running one by one. So let me get that for you first. So I'm going to the Bootstrap and looking for the carousel, and when I go down I see, so here's the carousel that they have provided. Let me move the screen a little bit for you. So I like this one better, so I will copy the code. I'll kind of try to explain you a little bit, and you will learn your yourself later. So I'm going to remove this heading and replace it with carousel. Okay. Also I'm looking to have but before that let me check if that carousel looks good or not. So I'm going to back to the tab that I was on, heading Control R. It will do refresh. You can see now it doesn't look good, so there is something wrong. I think I know what it is, and it is the images. So img here is the image tag. So let me explain you the whole carousel component and Bootstrap a little bit. So this is the carousel component. Start with this div, and then it has multiple divs inside. So one thing I didn't tell you before, some of you might already know that a HTML tag can have a tag inside. It is similar to everything is inside HTML tag. So, and within a head tag there are multiple tags. In the body tags there are multiple tags. Similarly, any other tag like div tag or like anchor tag, they can have multiple tags inside. So this one have multiple tags inside. So this is the whole carousel component. It has multiple things in it. So this is like carousel inner. It has the 3 pictures or 3 items. You can actually remove the picture and put a heading and a p tag or something, and you will see that content moving. So instead of having just image, you can have HTML here instead of that image, and you will see that image moving. So let me get these images. So right now they're blank, that's why we don't see anything. This src actually is the link to the image. So usually you put the image in somewhere and then you put the link in it. If you have the image in the same folder as your file, you just put the name of the image. So let me get these. So now I have replaced or added the images now in the src of these images. So if I go, I have hit the save. So if I go to the page, you can see that they have those. Actually, there's are like almost blank images. That's why you don't see anything. But what I like to do now is to replace them with some other HTML. So you would see how that other HTML comes in the carousel rather than simple images. So I go back to the Bootstrap and I look for something called Jumbotron. So this is a Jumbotron. You know, it has like a gray background. You can replace the background with any color, of course with your CSS, and then it has some text and a button. So let me copy that and go back to my code, and I'm removing the image now and saving it. I'm sorry, the code is not organized right now. I can actually spend some time and do it. Okay, so I hit save. So you see the first time you would see the Jumbotron, and the next item in the carousel you will see the image. So let me go back, refresh the page. You see this is the first item, and when I hit next, you'll see this big image, and when I go back to the first, and you'll see it again. One another thing I want to do is to have something called I'm gonna add some padding around. What does it mean? I will explain you. So pretty much it will take everything. I want to create another div and put everything in that div. So this whole carousel, I'm going to put it in another div. It's gonna have a style which gonna be padding. P means padding in Bootstrap. When you're using Bootstrap, they provide you some basic CSS. You can use your simple CSS to do that too. It means it's gonna provide some padding at the top and at the bottom. Y means y-axis, and I will not close it. I will create another div, and this div gonna have a container. So right now our component is going end to end, right? It is touching this end of the page, and if I go all the way here, it's touching this end of the page as well. But what I want to do, I want to do something like let me go to some website. Let's go to maybe facebook.com. So if you see facebook.com, you see how the content is kind of in the middle of the page. It's not touching all the sites. Some of the styles are touching the sites, but the main content is usually in the kind of in the middle. So let me do that. It will just to make it look a little better, nothing more than that. And in Bootstrap they have a container class which does that. Okay, so we started 2 divs, so we want to end these 2 divs. I hit the save again, and I go back and refresh it, and now you see our content is in the middle. It also have some space from the top because of the our py, our padding in the y-axis, and then because of the container, you see from the corner it has some space from both sides. Okay, so this is the one thing. And I want to also replace the other 2 pictures. If you have pictures with proper dimensions for all 3 sides, you can do it. The HTML that I'm putting, the Jumbotron, you don't have to use the same Jumbotron. You can use any HTML that is suited for your site. Okay, so to distinguish, I will say 1, 2, and 3 for now, but you will definitely have in the real website, you would have different proper content. So I hit the save right now, and just refresh, and I have this 1, 2, 3 here. Actually, if you want to go to second, right, and let's say you want to put everything in the middle, what you can also do is, let me try here. I can do text center, and let's see if it does what we need. Yep, so now everything is in the center. Okay, so, and it doesn't make sense to have these buttons because it's just kind of a text, so I will let them let's see if I refresh the page. Does it go to the second slide by itself? It should, I think, in 5 seconds or so by default. Let me hit refresh again. Okay, it's working. So I don't want to have, let's say, those arrows at the bottom which shows, so these are actually here, these 2 carousel control. So I'm going to remove these, and when I hit save, they're gone. Okay, so carousel move by them itself, there's no control. So when carousel is done, I want to show 3 like cards at the bottom. So let's say you have 3 offerings of your site or something. So I will go back. First of all, I want to have these container and some padding in the beginning. So I will start with these 2. Ouch. So here I will give the padding container. What I'll also do is close out these 2 tags. Okay, and now here in within these 2 tags, I'm going to add some rows and columns, so I can have 3 different things in one line. Okay, so I'm hitting save, going back to Bootstrap and going to the layout, and sorry, grid, to show you how we can create these 3 different columns. So here it is. I'll copy this code, I'll come back here, I'll paste it again. Last time I did not arrange any code, let me do it this time. Looks good. So if I save it and go back to my page and hit refresh, I see these 3 columns have been created. So instead of this simple text here, I'm going to put some HTML. So let me go back to Bootstrap, hit the component. I'm thinking I'll put the card here, but a little simple one. Okay, so I'm thinking of using something basic like this. So I'll copy this stuff and probably have the button at the end rather than the link. Well, let me copy it, and so this is the first column. So let me quickly explain how the grid system works. So this is the row. It means in one row we have 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3. Call here means column, SM is small. What this small means is it will stay, if I start making this screen smaller, it will stay 3 columns until it becomes a small screen. Once it's become very small, like your phone cannot show these 3 columns. Your content does not support, cannot be, you know, small. If you make these columns small enough, and in simple words, in your phone these 3 columns wouldn't make any sense, so you want to make them 1. So that's why it's SM. If you want to cut them here, you will do MD, which is like a smaller, like tablets. And then if you want to make them 1 column even sooner, you will do LG, it means large. So if you don't want to change it, even in phone you want to show that 3 columns, you will do SX, which means extra small. So the columns will stay like column and wouldn't stack. Let me refresh it. So right now they are like stacked, become in like they're in, it looks like they're in different rows, but when I hit refresh, they are now columns again, because on extra small device they're gonna stay column. But for our use, it doesn't make sense to have them. We want to on the phone we want to show them one in one line, but on desktop and bigger device, on tablets, we want to show 3 columns. So here there are 3 columns, and now I'm going to put some code, and I'm why did I hit that? Let me go back to the card, copy the code, this one I was looking for. I will come down here, put it right here, give proper padding just for viewing. As you can see, padding doesn't matter, some of it is just messed up, but page can look just fine. It's just for readability, so you can read it properly, easily. Let me remove this first. Let me fix the first one. So instead of having this button, let me first see how the page looks. So I hit refresh. Now I see that's what I was looking for. I want to have that card title, some text, and the button, but I don't want that image. You definitely are more than welcome to have that image. So I have this card body, card title, gonna show the title, and text gonna show the text. But what I want to do is to have it in the middle, all the text in the middle. So I will do text center. It is the Bootstrap class which makes everything in center. So I hit R, it will make it center. So let me copy the code now. This is my card. Okay, so this is our card. Sorry, the padding is not perfect here. Let's hit save, create another one. I'll give it number 1, number 2, just to show you the difference. Hit save again, Control R. Now we have two cards, the content in the middle. Let me go for the third one. So I will just copy it one more time. Let me see. Hit save, and now we have the content in all three. So for example, you have a website where you have blogs, so you will list first 3 blogs here, and then you will see, say, you can have a you can have a carousel, which in every single carousel you have 3 items. So instead of having these 3 cards here, I could have these cards up there too. It really doesn't matter what content you want to put in carousel. You can put anything. So you can have multiple things going on here, and people can browse through different blogs in just one line. So we have this. I kind of forgot to put the navigation at the top. So Bootstrap have very good nav bars as well, so you can actually just quickly go through nav bar. And for example, this type of navigation I want to put at the top. So I will copy the code, and I will go here. I want to put it right after the body, right at the very top of the page. Hit Control S, come to my page again, hit refresh. It's not in the container, that's why it's hitting the edges of my browser screen. I want to put a container around it. So where's the nav? Okay, right here. So I'll put a div here, class container, and then I'll close it. At the end of nav, I want to close that div that I started in the beginning. I hit Control S. Now I'll do Control R, and you will see it's now in the middle. Okay. So what else you might want to see in Bootstrap? Let me see. For example, you want to create a form, take some input from the user. You can do that too. Let me copy this form, which has a lot of different things in it, and put it at the bottom of the page. But again, I want to have that padding and container, so I will do div class some padding, which is the spacing from the top. There are 2 things that you have to learn. You can research about the margin. So what is the difference between padding and margin? It will help you be an expert having spacing from the top, bottom, sides, and you will know what is margin and what is the difference between margin and padding. Okay, so we have that. Let me put in container as well. Class container, and div here, and I'm pasting that code, hitting Control S, going back to my page now, and hitting Control R to refresh it, and you can see that form is here, but it doesn't look good. I'm going to show it, let's say, in one column. I'm going to put a heading as well or something, so I can actually do that. I can put an h2 tag. Let me do that. and h2 end, and here I can put bootstrap, have a class for different classes. For heading I will use display for, and I will say hit Control S. So now I have a heading here. Let's say you want to have two forms in this place, or a card next to it. We can definitely do it. So let me go back, and now because I'm going to put a column here, so I will do again another div class. To have a column, you have to have a row, so everything is this one row first, and then you want to have another div which gonna be class column, and it's gonna be SM again. I don't even have to give SM. It will still create the column if I just would say column. And I have two div open, so let me close two divs. And I don't know why did I have this div here. Hit save. I'll go back, refresh it. It didn't work. And the reason is it's only one column. I didn't create another column. So let me, after closing the two, the second one is the row, so I'm still in that row. I'm going to create another div for another column, right? So let me create column class call SM. I will close it as well, and now I would write some text right now just to test it. I'm trying to test something and I see something is wrong here. The reason is I'm missing some closing tags. Oh, because of this. Okay. Okay, now it should work fine, but it does not. It's showing up right here. It seems like there is a problem. So I have a container here, a column here, and the row is missing. The row is ending here. It should not be ending here. So let me have the tag end here. Now I hit save, hit refresh. Now I have two columns. So one column have ABCD and the column have everything. So let me have one of the column, one of the card here. And Control V, Control C, Control V, Control S, save, hit refresh. Now I have a card here, and I don't want to, let's say, have text in the center. For example, I want to have the title a little bigger. That's the way we have in next to it. I can make it like bigger. So this is the way you can create the full website. And now I have to show you how you can, where you can upload it. Right now it's running on your local, in your laptop, and you can see on your browser. But how would you share the link? How would you be able to go and see the full website. So that will come in a second.